Now. Hello again, Team Mac, NACast. We're getting to know your team members. Right now, we're going to talk to Matt Tolley, our chief instructor in our Halesowen Academy, senior JKD instructor in Mac, and one of the longest serving team members and students. So, how are you, Matt? Good to see you.
And you, Paul, nice to see you. Nice to see you, okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic at the moment, so that's going to probably, hopefully, we'll have this conversation. It'll be for posterity. Right, so, you know, you and I have been friends for a long, long time, trained together for a long, long time, visited a lot of different places. And we're doing these podcasts with all of the team, so kind of get their idea of where they are with what Mac is and where their training are. Where they are with the training. So there'll be most people I think would probably know you who listen to this, but for the people in our other academies that aren't familiar with who you are, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and where you fit into Mac?
Yes, no problem. So I'm the chief instructor at Halesowen, formerly the chief instructor at Sainsbury's Academy as well. And I've been training since 1999, early 1999 with yourself. We started out at Halesowen. Actually, we started at the Crystal. Then we moved to Halesowen School on a Monday, a Friday and a Sunday, 1 hour at a time in the back room in the sports hall, or sometimes room 80, which was, I think, the old dining hall, or even the dance studio sometimes. So we had 3 hours a week, just training. An hour at a time. We had to be in at 7, out at 8. And on Sunday mornings, just for that hour, I think it was 11:30 till 12:30. So that's where I started there. Wooden floors, no matted. If you wanted a mat, you went and got one. It moved when you actually did your footwork on it. And I basically had no martial arts training before that, and actually absolutely fell in love with it. I was in my late 20s when I started. Got into it via a friend of mine who I used to work with, a guy called Kev Denton. You must shout out. Last saw him at your wedding back in 2013, I think. Used to work with Kev. He got me into it. Started training at Halesowen. Then I found out you taught at Bloxwich twice a week. So I used to drive all the way over to Bloxwich twice a week for a couple of hours there. Met people like Vaughan Lee or Vaughan Harvey, as we knew in them, and what have you. The reason I started, I swam a lot. I swam 100 lengths every day, absolutely every day. The only day I didn't was when the pool was closed, which was normally Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day. And what happened was, over one Christmas, I put a load of weight on, felt absolutely terrible. Went to the doctors, and he said, you know, you need to exercise more. You know, you're not doing enough exercise. I went, but I swim 100 lengths every day. And he said, okay, do you? He said, every day. And I went, every day? Every day I swim 100 lengths, except when the pool's shut, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Day. He went, how long have you been doing that for? I went, probably 6 or 7 years now, that kind of intensity. 100 lengths used to take me about 30 minutes. And he looked at me and he went, there's your problem then. He says, your body's used to it. You've got used to the routine. You've got used to the rhythm. You need to find something different to do. So he said, you know, you need to go running, you need to go cycling, you need to go something different. So I went, well, I don't run. I don't like running. Never have done.
Matty, can I just for you're
yeah.
shaking at the
Sorry, I've got it on my knees. I'm just getting excited about it.
Okay. Just remember, you're going to make people watching this seasick if we're not careful.
I'll put it on the table. How's that?
That's better.
I'll put it on the table. That's better. So yeah, I went to the doctors. He said you need to try something different. I came back speaking to Kev about it. He went, come and try some martial arts. And I was like, surely I'm going to get beaten up. Surely, you know, you hear all these horror stories. Came along, met yourself, absolutely fell in love with it. Realised that I wasn't going to get beaten up. Realised I was learning and enjoying it. The big thing for me was, because Kev was coming along with me, after about 3 or 4 lessons, he said one of the Friday nights, I can't make it tonight. And I went, oh, I'm not going then. And he looked at me, why not? Why aren't you going? I went, he says, you're not going to get beaten up. you've been. You don't need me to protect you. And he was right, and that was it. And then we started doing block switch. We're doing the 3 times a week. My eldest daughter, my eldest daughter, Alex, who's now 26, she started soon after me in the one junior class we had a week. And on we went. Never thought
I think a lot of people, Matty, will listen to that, and because they see us on a day-to-day basis and they see you at the front of the class and they see you doing that type of stuff, they don't realise back in those days, you know, I would turn up at Halesowen and I'd have 3 sacks full of gloves and pads. We'd drag those in. We'd sit outside waiting for the whoever got the room before us. On the odd occasion we could get mats, we'd drag the mats out, or we'd just work on the wooden floor and just took it as it came. And then we'd finish as quickly as we started. And just in those days, just as today I'm notorious for running over, I had plenty of run-ins with the Aikido guy coming in after us, because I'd just always be a little bit late getting the mats up or whatever else. But I think when you go back to that, it wasn't so easy as it is today for people. We didn't have a website then. There wasn't Google. There wasn't any of that. Exactly what you just said, you know, Kev, who's a friend of mine as well, Kev would tell you and you would tell somebody else, or you would bring, you know, as you did Alex, who was, I'd just say for the people who are listening to this, Matty's daughter, Alex, she's 26 now. And I haven't seen her for a while, but every time I see her, she's got a fantastic smile, great energy, but she was an awesome martial artist herself. Absolutely fantastic. Sparred, trained, did kata at the time, which was part of our curriculum, did everything and anything that the martial arts kind of had to offer her or put in front of her, did it with a smile on her face. And did it. She was like a smiling assassin when it came to sparring. She was fantastic. But again, at that point in time, like you said, I was teaching in block switch. I can't remember if that time I was doing Worcester as well. So I was doing a few different places. But for most people locally, you had a couple of chances in a week. Like you were saying earlier on, we did 3 hours in a week up in Halesowen, and you had to get in, get your stuff in, get everybody training, get the work done, and get back out within the hour. So as everything kept running smoothly. Much different now, doing the way we are with, you know, our own academies and matted areas, 2 matted areas, and, you know, rock solid team behind us and coaches and so on and so forth. Do you miss anything about those old days?
In all honesty, no, because I still have memories of being in the room at Halesowen and seeing something fall in front of my face, looking at the floor, and part of the ceiling had fell in. So I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
If I was half a foot further forward, that would have got me. So I look back at the people who we've trained with on the past, and they've moved on, they've gone to better things. You know, we've helped people through, they've had difficult times in their lives, and we've helped people grow and get over that time. And that's part of what we do. In my mind anyway, as well as making myself a better person, which I think I'm a better person. I'm more tolerant, I'm more confident than I ever was. You know, it's the people we've helped through the years. They've been going through a tough time with relationship breakups, or just their own confidence, or seeing a child coming at 5 or 6, 7 years old in tears at the edge of the mat on their first lesson. You know, 3, 4, 5 years later, seeing them get their black belt, seeing them stand rock solid and proud. And you just think, yeah, that's it. Job done, that is. That's it.
I agree, totally. I think a lot of people think we are about, or martial arts can be purely about fighting. Fighting itself is just one facet, and it takes being in it for a long time, like you and I have, to understand that it's about polishing yourself, being the best you can be, not just for yourself, but in your interaction with others, and then trying to share that opportunity for those to be nurtured within a similar environment and to be helped with the confidence, helped with the physical skills, help with just the mental preparation to stick at it, to persevere, to accept everything doesn't always go your way, to accept that you can't always know what's going to come, and be able to work within that capacity. And we know over the years how many different people or parents have come back to us and just said, wow, that made such a difference. The school report is coming back more positive, and or I'm just feeling more positive about myself, or I'm more aware, or it's permeating more of my life than just being on the mat. And we know, martial arts is a challenge, but for most people, it's really as simple as, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And that's the role of people like me and you, where we are older, we have been around for a lot longer, is to actually go to people, no, you can do this, you can share, you just got to have a little bit of faith, spend a little bit of time, ignore the things that you think may happen, and just turn up and go. If one person can do it, then another one can too.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. The perseverance. You look at the character boards in the character wars in the academy. Top words: honesty. Perseverance is in there. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep going. So
why do you train now, Matty? After all the years of training, if you go to somebody, how long have you trained now? 20 years?
20 plus years now.
20 plus years. So, I've been training for a long time. It's never crossed my mind that I should stop. It's crossed my mind to change direction, or to focus on a different area of my training, or to try something new within the environment that we operate in. But it's never ever crossed my mind. I think you and I probably had loads of discussions over the years, but I remember once going, well, martial arts is no longer something that I do. It's something that a martial artist is no longer something that I do. It's something that I think I've become.
Yes.
So why do you train now? What drives you? What keeps you going?
For me, it's the passion just to keep getting that little bit better. I've always said it, when somebody starts, they do a learning curve like this, it grows. You reach a level where the learning curve does that. It's not so steep, but you're still learning. I still practice jab, cross, hook every day. I still practice my footwork. I still swing a stick around just to see, can I get a little bit better, a little bit more, that little bit more. And it's like I say, Paul, it's part of me. It's part of what we do. If you'd have said to me 25 years ago, you'll be doing this, I'd be like, what? You're mad. It's what we do. I'm forever practicing kicks or moving or footwork. Some of the home teaching I'm doing at the moment, I put a cross in the living room and I'm showing the students, this is how you do your footwork. For me, it's part of making somebody else better. If that makes sense, to help them and encourage them. That gives me satisfaction as well as my own training.
Sorry, Matty. So I'm jumping about a little bit from where we are, but as well as that, then, how is it that, how do you maintain your passion for it? You said, look, little bits at a time, jab, cross, hook, practice some footwork. What is there in you that says where you go, well, okay, I'm doing this. I've done it for a long time. I didn't think I'd do it, but what helps you? What's your thought process, or the things that you are thinking to yourself that says, this is what keeps me passionate about training?
What keeps me going is the simple fact that it can never be perfect. It can never be perfect. It can always be better. No matter how good a jab, a cross, a hook, or a kick is, it can always be better. There's no such thing as that's it, you've got it. And to me, that's what drives me. I say it in the class, practice makes permanent. Not perfect, because nothing can be perfect. It can always be improved on. As soon as we stop thinking we've got something, we'll stop. And we can't do that. We've got to keep going. We've got to keep getting better. We've got to keep improving, getting the footwork better, getting everything better. And that translates soon to your life as well. It's hard to explain. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's what it is for me. It's that I can always be better. So punch better, kick better, stick angle can be better. I can teach it better. I can receive it better. I can learn from people like yourselves, Rick Young, Guru Dan, Eric Paulson, Tommy. It's taking that knowledge and not just going, that's it, I've got it.
So mentioning, you mentioned quite a few of our kind of instructors and whatever there, as you said. First of all, what would be the milestones for you in your training? You know, you've gone through the whole of the adult curriculum back in the day when it was probably more demanding.
Level 7.
Yeah, level 7 was the mountain that you had to climb. You've gone through the process, you know, in reality, with me as my student and my friend, watching me evolve, watching me develop and grow, and therefore bringing through our own training, our own people to do the same type of thing. Within that time, what would be the milestones for you?
Milestones, definitely get my instructorship.
Yeah.
Obviously the big one. Sticking through it to some of the injuries I've had has been another one. You remember when I broke my shoulder, could do nothing but left-handed stick. So used to come and stand at the back of a class with the stick left-handed, did that for 3.5 months. That perseverance, obviously going to Los Angeles, training with Guru Dan, Eric Paulson, private lesson we did with Larry Hartsill, which was fantastic. Rick Young. The milestones aren't such, it's the way these people are with that. They wear their passion, their martial arts with lightness, with humility. You talk to Rick Young, you talk to Guru Dan, they're such nice people. Eric Paulson's the same, he's nice, but you know there's a little edge to them. That's what I try to take. That's my, not a milestone, but what I look for with them. The biggest milestone, back to the milestone question, was just getting my instructorship. I've been teaching a while before then, but a full instructorship. I trained for that grading we did. It was about 7 or 8 hours on the Saturday. I remember talking to him. We did it in November. I remember talking to him in the June or July, going, I know it's coming. Please don't give me 2 weeks' notice. When do I need to get ready? And he said, start getting ready now. So I was, as well as training in the academies 3 or 4 times a week, I was doing my own stuff. I was in the gym doing specific work on a row machine, 3-minute rounds, and we didn't do it till November.
It's a good job. It's a good job you remember the things I say, Matty, because I don't always remember them. You know what I mean? I seem to give some good advice out, then forgot I've given it in some cases.
So yeah, I trained for it and I worked for it. And I came into it, and the preparation for it, and the preparation coming for gradings, all the gradings. That's every one of those was a little milestone. Doing the level 3, the level 4, level 5, level 6, going through as we did, preparing for those, you know, and being ready for it and coming.
This is off the kind of track a little bit, but I notice when you talk about it, it says getting ready, getting prepared, must do, had to be, got to be better, which is very much an attitude of mine that comes from, you know, your generation, my generation, where we're that little bit older, and we almost use negative empowerment, if you like. I've got to do this, I must do this.
Yes.
And I think sometimes today that type of mindset is not so prevalent amongst people coming through. People now want to do things because they're pulled towards it rather than pushed towards it. Would you agree with that, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely with some of the teaching that I do and we do, you know, it's using the right language to encourage people to come through it.
Yeah.
Me and you could have a conversation. You might go, Matty, come on, sort yourself out, you're not doing it properly. And I go, okay, you're right. Somebody else might be, oh, like that. And I think it is a generational thing. I mean, and having to learn from it and just, I've adapted the way I talk to people. That's been another learning. That's another milestone for me. You know, I teach the Storm children at Halesowen, and they know the big thing is when they correct somebody to use the word try, not do it, try. And I do it myself with my own children in the academies. Everywhere I go, can you try and do this for me? Can you try and do that? not just do this, do that.
Coming back to you, you mentioned a few names before of people that you've trained with. Can you just touch on those briefly and what you took from them as within the training or as an instructor? So you kind of mentioned Rick Young from Edinburgh, who's probably one of the biggest influences. Well, definitely one of the biggest influences, if not the biggest influence on me. But of course, if I've known him for that long, you've known him for just as long, maybe in a slightly different capacity. So, you know, the likes of Rick, of Eric and the others, what's your kind of take on them and how they've affected your training?
If I start with Rick, it's just his humility and his humbleness. I don't know if I'd say, I remember the first time I ever met him. He came to do a seminar at Halesowen, and he was wearing a pair of jeans, brown shoes, and a green Parker-style jacket. When it wasn't fashionable, and I looked and I thought, Then he came out and he got a white vest and his black shorts, and he was just like, wow. And the way he moved, I'd only been training about 3 or 4 months at the time, and I was, wow, this man is just incredible. And then with Rick again, about 3 or 4 years later, when I was further down the line, he came down and he did a seminar when we were at the old building, and 5 minutes in, I was just in hysterics. He came over and went, what's the matter? I said, well, I'm 5 minutes in, I'm lost. You've lost me already. I said, he looked at me, I went, don't worry. I said, it's a good lost. I said, don't panic. I said, it's good, because it just means that, you know, I've got so much more to learn. But obviously, you know, I'm a long way down the line now, and I can get not all of his stuff, but I get where he comes from. And it's those little extra nuances that he gets, although he does call me Phil, but hey ho, that's an old standing joke. to be fair, I don't mind, because it means he recognises me.
Yeah.
He just associates me with the wrong name. He must see hundreds and hundreds of people, and he knows me.
Yes, definitely.
You know, so
I think a lot of those instructors like that, they do practice humility. They are very comfortable in themselves about sharing what they do.
Yeah.
But also they do know the people, like me, like you, like some of that, like Sam and others, and Ben and the people that have been around, that have trained for a long time, you know, that have been to seminars with them on a regular basis, that have turned up year in, year out. And they do recognise those people and know, because let's be honest, if for you to be training 20 years or 30 years in the martial arts, that's kind of an elite level. And, you know, there's not that many people that get to that level and are able to still function and still train and still keep that white belt mentality. And I think they recognise that and they respect that, and, you know, they understand the difference. For a lot of people in their early stages, it's just about an instructor having a student. But the top guys, the likes of Rick Young, Eric Paulson, you know, Victor Braulio Estima and people like that, they understand that there is a very definite relationship between the instructor and the student. So you mentioned Rick, somebody else that you've trained with that you've got to take on?
Guru Dan.
Yes.
Guru Dan. I've been training about 6 or 7 months when we first went to Edinburgh for a seminar with Guru Dan and Asanto, and it was just absolutely incredible. I was so impressed because I came back with one thing after 2 days, and I was like, I've got one thing. And I was so excited because we were still at Halesowen to walk into Halesowen. They went, how was it? I went, I got this. And it was a gravity drop. And I was like, I've got it. I was, oh man.
Awesome. What about Sensei Eric Paulson?
Eric Paulson I met on the same weekend as that Guru Dan seminar, and he walked in and there was just an absolute aura around Eric. He got this bounce. He came in picking people up who knew him, and you just looked at him and I was just like, wow, look at him. And then in front of him was Guru Dan, which I hardly noticed because Paulson just filled the room with his energy. The one thing I noticed with Eric as well, as Guru Dan was teaching, because at the time Eric was coming along with him and dummying for him, and Eric was watching people looking around the room, and he just got this look as if to say, you don't want to mess with me. You don't want to mess with me, which is just his fight mentality. Look, but again, Eric's great. I love Eric Paulson's stuff because it's what I call daft. And what I mean by that is it's simple to get. Anybody can get it. And you go, well, that's silly. That works. And this is a guy who's been in the cage, fought in the cage, trained UFC fights. You go, well, all this complicated stuff that people try to learn, just as simple as doing that, it works. It works. And
I think a lot of people don't know with some of our lineage. So Eric's 2 times world light heavyweight shoot fighting champion. You know, first Caucasian to go out to Japan and take that title. Rick Young is a multiple world champion at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they do carry that aura with them. One of the reasons for that is, it's not commonly known, is that both Rick and Eric were heavily influenced by Larry Hartzell in LA, and his teaching style was very, very much like that. So I'm told. We had the privilege of doing that I think we did the last ever seminar that he did when we were there, just for our group, wasn't it? You know, so that was an absolutely amazing experience. But they came very much out of training with him because he was the JKD grappling guy, and you know they spent a lot of time with him, and I think his style and the way he was kind of rubbed off on both Eric and Rick. So you see some of that more in Eric, I think, to be fair. What are your take on Tommy Thompson? Our long-time boxing coach, and he's not too far from you, is he really, Matty?
He's not far. Tommy's great. His knowledge and the way he puts things over, although sometimes he's not politically correct, I think is the best way to say it. Yeah. His view on southpaws, for instance.
Yes.
He doesn't like southpaw fighters. His knowledge and some of the things when I teach in class, which is what our instructors should do, how to throw a left hook properly, how to throw a right cross properly. You know, the Elvis, the flick of the hips for a right cross. All that comes from people like Tommy. I enjoyed training with Tommy. He's
a big relief for us in some ways because we're so used to the etiquette and the shape of student instructor that just doesn't resonate with Tommy at all, does it? Tommy's kind of right. We're here. We're going to train. I don't care what level you are or where you are. You're going to do what I say when I say, and we're just going to have a great session together. Is there any other people that you've trained with? Because I know we've travelled quite a lot to different places. Any other people you've trained with that have struck a chord with you as a martial artist?
No, I think those are the main four. Larry Hartzell, obviously, when we did that seminar in LA. Done the seminars with Larry Hartzell as well.
Yeah.
It's raw brutality, I think, comes across for me. Still remember when he held the pad for an inside leg kick. Well, one of the guys held the pad for an inside leg kick, and we all winced with how hard he kicked it. We were like, whoa. You know, how the guy took that. You know, his locks, obviously, Larry was known for tremendous locks and things like that. So just bear me a second. Hello. Hi, I'm on a call. Can you go away? My youngest comes to say hello.
So I think, you know, if we look at that type of stuff, the doors open.
Scare me.
Yeah. You know, over your 20 years of training, you know, you've visited LA, you've been to Scotland, we've been to Exeter, we've been down to London, and you're just about to talk about the Esteemas.
The Esteemas, Victor and Braulio. How can I forget those? The first time I met Braulio, I think you were doing a seminar. We had a seminar from Mauricio Gomez. And I was there, and he turned up, and my vision of he's great fun. But they drove off down the road, and he stood on the sill of the car with the door open, waving to us, not in the seats, waving bye-bye.
Yeah.
A few weeks later, he did a seminar on a Sunday morning with us. As the Brazilian, we didn't really know who they were then. We'd seen him in Nottingham at a tournament, I think.
This is just for people who are listening. This is a time when broadly the only person in the UK that was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was Maestro Mauricio Gomez, Roger Gracie's dad. So now, again, we're 20 years down the road. But at the time, I think Mauricio was here, Roger was on his way, Braulio had just come over. So, we were talking a little class being taught in the custard factory in Birmingham, and we knew about things like the UFC, so that, we knew what it was. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was out there as this amazing art, but we'd never had hands-on experience of it. And again, this is just proving our lineage. That came about for me because of the connection with Rick as my main instructor. So I remember that seminar so well because, that was the first time we'd really seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu up close. And looking back at it, we were doing such basic stuff, but it was such an amazing experience. And Braulio bounced in, 19 years of age, skinny, big smile on his face, putting T-shirts on the side to sell. And then we went into a kind of specific spar. He proceeded to, I think that was the one where
2 minutes, 20 seconds it took him, 25 of us.
Yeah. And that was the one where I sat down with Mauricio after and said, how do I learn this? How do I learn to be good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And he said, train with Braulio. And I think that was about 2002, maybe around that time, something like that. So from then on, Braulio came, then Victor came, and at one point in our Halesowen Academy, on a given day, a given afternoon, we've had Braulio Estima, multiple world champion, Victor Estima, although I think Victor might have been on one of the breaks back to Brazil at the time. But again, another world-class medalled athlete, Roger Gracie, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Lucio Legato, Otavio Souza, all these guys are like major players in the BJJ world. And, we had this little academy in Halesowen, and it was like Little Brazil on a Friday afternoon. And people were coming in, that we just, we didn't know of or whatever else. What's your memory of Victor, Matty?
Well, Victor used to teach the junior class.
Yeah, he did.
He used to teach the junior class. I remember Victor watching me teach the juniors, Heaven 6, and I was thinking, oh my life, he's one of the top martial artists in the world watching me teach a class. I think I was teaching Heaven 6, which is a double stick drill, for those of you who don't know, to the juniors. My own daughter was there, because I think Victor was then doing a grappling class, or he'd just done one for the juniors. He came over afterwards, he went, well, that was really good the way he taught that. And I was like, I was absolutely like that. So that kind of recognition for me, just
I think what you're trying to say in a nice way is at that time Victor was raw force to be reckoned with. His jiu-jitsu was amazing, but his physicality was out of this world. I mean, I did I can't remember how many years now with Victor and with Braulio. I think it was 10 years to get my black belt, but Victor was my instructor. I brought him to the UK originally. I sponsored him into the country, and now he flourishes as the director of GB Europe and whatever. And I'm still very close friends with both of them. But I think if Braulio was that artist, then Victor was that raw physical power. So how do you think your martial art training is helping you in this current climate, Matty? We're in the middle of COVID-19. We're all trying to cope. We're doing this, as an exercise for our students, and so kind of a little bit of posterity and give them something to get to know us better. But how do you think the 20 years and some of the things, has that helped you in this current time?
It has, yeah, because like everything we're going through. They're tough times at the moment. And it's the same as, I don't know, it's having a 5-minute grapple with yourself or with Brelly or Victor. It will come to an end and you'll get better at it. And I think that's the mentality we've got to have. You know, somebody's lying on crossbody against you, you can't get them off. You've either got to work at it or it will be over. We've got to look ahead. We've got to think positive. We've got to keep doing what we're doing. We're doing the online classes. I'm doing one-to-one classes. We're sending things out. We're trying to keep people connected with us. We're trying to keep their mental sanity at home.
Do you think those things are because of our training and because of our other background? Do you think that's we've tried to take something or make something positive out of the situation? Do you think that's what our training's taught us? Definitely. That's what it is. We've got this I can do it. It's back to what I said, it can be better. You can do it. Yeah. You can do it. Might take a bit of time, might take a bit of practice. We'll come through it. Having a set routine to do what we do. I've got 3 kids at home, you know, we're getting up in the morning, they're doing the homework, again, they're doing some exercise, and then that's it. It's that old saying, isn't it? You want to figure out how to be good at martial arts. The biggest thing you can do is get off your settee. Yes. The rest of it's follow through. Yeah. So, what one thing, Matty, all your experience, you've travelled, you know, to the other side of the world, you've trained with a who's who of some of the greatest, certainly the top JKD martial artists in the world. Looking back, what one thing would you say to somebody now that's training or starting to train that you would go, this is something I wish I'd known back then, or this is something that later on became clear to me is the key to, you know, enjoy my training, making it last, getting my black belt? That's a good question. That's a good question. One thing, I think to me, there's several different things. Being open-minded, listening to people, not just instructors, but somebody else. Somebody tells you you're dropping your hands, you're probably dropping your hands. Perseverance, the ability just to keep going, no matter how hard it is, how hard you think it is. Your brain will give up before your body will. I always say your body can go 10 to 15% more than you think it can. It's your mind that stops first. Keep your mind strong. Fill yourself with positivity. Okay. That's the one thing, positivity. Okay. So finally then, being as this is primarily aimed at our students and our family, you know, the one family, one team, one colour. Do you have a message for the guys that are watching this, who are all part of the Mac family, ones you know, ones you don't know? Yeah. Come and do the online classes. Keep your fitness up. Keep going. Don't give up. And we'll see you back in the academies shortly. Okay, Matty, thank you for your time. It's been a great pleasure. You know, we talk a lot. We've been friends for many years. We talk too much to each other probably sometimes. We do. But luckily, it's normally 2 old men in a room, so nobody else gets to have to listen to it. But, you know, you have shared the last 20 years of my life professionally with me, the Edinburgh, the LA, the London, Hackney, Exeter, yeah, you know, all of those type of things together, and hopefully we still retain our passion for it, and now people have a little bit more insight into who you are and a little bit more of the stories about behind us. So on that, I'm going to say goodbye. There's a little wave from me. Bye, guys. From Matty. Thank you. And